Hello there, it is Toby Jones here and welcome to a new video, and today is going to be a tribute to Roger Whittaker, who has sadly died at the age of 87. Some news came out yesterday evening that Roger Whittaker had died last Wednesday on the 13th of September 2023, and that his family had a private tribute, a private ceremony to celebrate Roger's life, and he was cremated last weekend. And Roger Whittaker has had some illnesses over the last decade or so, retired from performing around 10 years ago, and unfortunately succumbed to those at the age of 87 in a hospital in France. Born in Nairobi in 1936, had many fantastic songs that will live long in the memory. These videos aren't ones that I particularly like to make too much, but I thought on this occasion, there's a few occasions I did one for Tina Turner early on in the year. There are some artists that touch us so much that I think it's worth saying a couple of words about, and that's exactly what I'm going to do about Roger Whittaker. At the age of 87, of course, nobody expects to live forever, and I think any fan of Roger Whittaker knew this day would come at some point, but it's always a sad moment, of course it is, when anybody departs, whether that's a family member, a friend, or even just a musical icon to us fans, but of course to family and friends a little bit more than that, personally. Roger Whittaker had several fantastic tracks. His biggest hit over in the UK was The Last Farewell, released originally in 1971, and it wasn't until it was picked up again by the radio in 1975 that it went up to number 2 in the charts. Other of his hits include Durham Town, I Don't Believe in If Anymore, New World in the Morning, and then some compositions by other artists such as Ralph McTell with Streets of London, and then the classic original track, the Skyboat song, with Des O'Connor. There's quite a humorous, especially for the time of new wave and 80s dance, and getting to the end of the decade with kind of Pet Shop Boys and that house sort of sound, with Roger Whittaker sat on a stool and Des O'Connor performing the Skyboat song. Of course, Roger Whittaker really the master of whistling. The Mexican Whistler being his most popular track, but plenty of whistling tracks which are showcased in Roger Whittaker's, I believe this is one of his earliest, if not his earliest album, which is called Whistle Stop, a very young Roger Whittaker in that photo. And on this album we have the Paraguayan Listener, the Mexican Whistler, the Russian Whistler, and the Boss Whistler. Too much whistling to the point it gets all a little bit daft at points. And that's something that you could say about some of Roger Whittaker's career. He had some odd tracks when you look later in his career. On this greatest hits set there is a track called Uncle Benny, which I'm not exactly sure is the best track in the world, and other tracks that have come along the way, but the good definitely outweighs the bad with Roger Whittaker. His voice, very soft-spoken voice, and even with renditions of previous artists' hits, songs like For I Loved You, I Will Always Love You. I'm drawing a blank, but there's a couple of others that are excellent, really excellent. Of course, The Last Farewell, written by Roger Whittaker, covered in Elvis Presley's final days. Not really a patch on Roger Whittaker's original version, but yeah, such a shame that we've lost this artist. A lot of musical legacy that will live for a long time, and quite nice to see that yesterday evening when the news came out. I mean, I was quite shocked. As much as at the age of 87, of course, you expect it to happen at some point, but it's never a nice thing, particularly for the family and friends, of course, of Roger, and equally for his fans such as myself. But you look at the musical legacy that Roger leaves and the amount of great songs that he did. Another one that comes to mind that was a cover of a previous song is Time in a Bottle. I think that's an excellent performance, a really good performance from Roger. The master of easy listening, he was called by some people in their tributes last night, and I think that is a statement that is absolutely bang on. You know, Roger's soft-spoken voice, the arrangements are lovely, and particularly this greatest hits album is Roger Whittaker at his best. Really, the majority of these are great tracks. I've mentioned some of them already. Wind Beneath My Wings, of course, his rendition of that was very famous. River Lady, I'm Back. One of Roger Whittaker's keen passions, really, was the country of Kenya, where he was born in Nairobi, and he did this album in 1982, I believe, and unfortunately there's a bit of damage to the cover now. Roger Whittaker in Kenya, a musical safari, and I'm Back is on this album, as well as My Land is Kenya, which is a lovely track. which is actually used by Kenya for national events, World Cups, Olympic Games, all the rest of it. Fantastic ambassador, if you like, for that country as well. But again, some excellent songs will live long in the memory. This live concert is another great artifact as well. Beginning with The Last Farewell. Hello, good morning, happy day. Great track. A bit of silliness with Hound Dog and Sloop John B. But if you get the opportunity to listen to this, and there's a concert on YouTube, which I think is Legends in Concert, something like that, called New World in the Morning. Roger Whittaker's performance, it's just nice and easy. It's a pleasant night in. And that's really what Roger Whittaker's music did deliver ultimately. His final UK album, at least, was Moments in My Life, released in the mid-2000s. I want to say 2005 without checking. There's some great tracks on that album. Into the Silence, the first track in particular, is a really good track. And there's some tracks later on in that album. A bit of a mixed album, but there's some very good tracks in there all the same, all written by Roger Whittaker. And even when he retired in 2012, 2013, a couple of years later, he'd got sort of 18, 20 tracks that he'd written ready. So I don't think he ever lost the passion for songwriting and performing. And that's what Roger Whittaker really was, a performer. And I'm glad that, you know, as strange as it sounds, for an artist that, of course, would be known very well by the older generation for his Last Farewell hit and others, the younger generation inevitably won't really know what Roger Whittaker is. But it was nice to see the coverage on social media, on Twitter or X as it's called now, and Facebook and BBC News and all the major news outlets releasing if you like it, just the news that Roger Whittaker, there you go, had passed, and I think it was the Telegraph with a really nice obituary to Roger Whittaker. And that, obviously it's sad news, but his music does live on forever, of course. I certainly enjoy his music. Maybe sometimes I'm not in the mood for his music, but you know, other times it is really worth listening to. I've got a lot of his records, just looking at some of them here. I've got the couple of CDs you can see there. Just look at the other few of his records that I have. Another early record, 60s record, Dynamic. And then we have a couple of greatest hits sets, 20 all-time greats, Roger Whittaker. And a vinyl-only release was the track I Believe, which is an original Whittaker track. And that's a great track. But looking at these tracks, Why is another great track by Roger. His rendition of Dirty Old Town with the whistling at the start is great. He Ain't Heavy Is My Brother, I really like that version as well. And a special kind of man, that's a really good song. He released another compilation around 2008, The Golden Age of Roger Whittaker, and there's some tracks that aren't on this compilation, one of them being A Special Kind of Man. That's a really good track. We got The Very Best of Roger Whittaker as well, and then I've also got this on CD, but Roger Whittaker, His Finest Collection. And this features some of his later tracks, some of the covers I was hinting at, the likes of Leaving on a Jet Plane and Annie's Song, originally John Denver. Good performances. Gentle on My Mind and Make the World Go Away, and even Always on My Mind is a perfectly good rendition, also For the Good Times, which Elvis Presley also famously featured on one of his 70s albums. So Roger Whittaker, the master of easy listening, has unfortunately left us, which is a real shame. But as I say, I will always say with these tributes that, especially with me and for other fans, the music will hopefully live long. And I think based on this, the time is about right for myself and possibly Joe, if he wants to join me, to do maybe a video on Roger, looking at maybe our top 10, top 15 songs, if nothing else, just to pay our respects to the man in the best way possible, to look at his music review and recommend some great tracks that are worth listening to. But obviously sad news, and that is the news that Roger Whittaker has left us at the age of 87 after an illness in France. And of course, he did a great song as well with his daughter Jessica in the mid-90s, A Perfect Day, which is a really nice, easy listening track as well, and really nice for him to pass the baton on effectively in that song to his daughter. So some sad news, of course, but to turn it positively, of course, his music will live on forever, as we said, and we will enjoy it for forevermore. But that is going to be it for today's short video as a tribute to Roger Whittaker. So thank you very much for your company today. If you've got any sentiments you'd like to leave in the comments, please do. And hopefully there'll be a video soon commemorating the music of Roger Whittaker even more with some of these great tracks. Thank you for watching today's video. I've been Toby Jones, and until the next time, I will see you all later. Goodbye for now.